What's happening, people? Welcome back. I know it's been a long time coming, but we're here. Part 3 of 3, Meaning and Logic. How to End Nihilism Forever. This is following part 1, where I talked about why smart people, why intelligent people, why deep thinkers will find themselves in a nihilistic state quite often, quite frequently, and maybe for a long period of time, and how to address that, how to maybe see that a little bit differently to make sure that we're not there so frequently, so readily. Part 2, I discuss why meaning is definitely logical, why you can be sensible and rational and hold meaning as a truth for your existence and your reality, for your being, why you can make countless logical statements and arguments for the existence, for the reality, and the importance of meaning in a human life. And also how to conceive maybe of ourselves as the recipient of a dialogue and exchange, a physical and material exchange from the universe that culminates in a semantically and syntactically sound and complete sentence called experience, called the experience of human existence and reality and life, whatever you want to call it. So we don't have to be silly. We don't have to be irrational. And we should, if we want to have a good and fulfilled life in every way possible, seek out meaning, even though we will not necessarily tap into or know directly in an intellectual fashion the meaning of all reality and existence. Not in any objective way anyway, not anytime soon in this species' lifetime. So what we're going to talk about in this video is how to end nihilism forever, once and for all, because we could do this partially. We could do this in small portions and work on soothing it here, easing it here. But we want to put it to bed forever, hopefully. And to do this, what we have to do in a sense is we have to marry the intellectual side with the intuitive side, the transcendental side. We have to find a match. There has to be a congruence between what we know and what we feel. And when we do have that congruence, that syncing, that marriage between the intellectual and the intuitive, we don't experience a meaningless existence. We experience a meaningful life. We experience meaning and significance every moment of our life. When what we're doing, we know we should be doing, we know why it is meaningful, why it is significant, why it's important, and we also feel like it's what we should be doing. If it feels right, it feels like this is it. When that happens, we're good. However, we're not really good forever, because there will always be something that we encounter that will not be addressed or encompassed or encapsulated in our intellectual understanding of what's meaningful and significant, likely. Or there will be something that we encounter in life that won't feel right, won't feel intuitively true and meaningful. It won't feel like the point, what we should be doing. So the only way to really end nihilism forever is to extend the notion of yourself intellectually. Extend your boundaries, your borders, as far as you possibly can conceive of, to the limits of your intellect and your cognitive ability, to all reality and existence if you're capable. And then to do this with the intuitive feeling, the intuitive sense, so that you feel like you're connected to all reality and existence. Whether that's true or not, what you're trying to do is to marry an absolute intellectual understanding of yourself with a deep intuitive sense of yourself. Have them be as expansive as possible. And then when they marry and they are congruent with one another, then there's really no place for something foreign, something alien, something unknown to you to enter. Everything will be seen as meaningful, significant, because everything will be, even though it may be remote, will be some small part of you in the point. Nothing in your experience, in your body, in your life should be seen as insignificant, as I said in part 2, when you see yourself as the recipient of a cosmic dialogue. Therefore, if everything is encapsulated and encompassed in your being, in your awareness at the very minimum, then nothing will be insignificant and pointless and meaningless in your life. And if you don't do this, we're almost essentially guaranteeing and demanding that we find something in life fear-inducing, something that's alien and foreign, something that won't be a part of us, won't be in our knowledge, won't be connected to us, and will be seen as a threat intuitively and instinctually, even if we don't see it that way directly. Now, this sounds crazy to some people. This is what many people for the past several thousand years have been doing in different parts of the world, going beyond themselves. And this is what we need to do. And I don't dismiss these people. I used to quite a bit, but certain things that have stood the test of time, that have stood for thousands of years and many wars and many trials and tribulations, have some value, some merit in them. Even if it's just in the institution that's supporting them, there's something to understand, something to learn. But in these, there's some practice, there's some approach, some technique in many of these aspects and areas of ancient India, of the East, and many other portions of the world that have value, that should not be ignored. Not necessarily because it is the truth, it is the path to all understanding and all knowledge, but simply because it works. So we don't throw away things that work, even if we don't fully understand them. We may not understand why aspirin worked hundreds of years ago, but we took the aspirin bark, right? So the philosophers, the scientists, the physicists have the intellectual side, and the spiritual people have the intuitive side. They feel like they're more. They feel like they're all things and everything. They feel like they are one with all things, or they are all things, and we're included in that, so we're all the same, right? But many of them don't hold a very rational understanding. So there's always some part of them that's undermining and shortcutting that feeling. So what we're doing is marrying the two so that we get the benefits of both of these worlds, of both approaches. And doing this, going beyond yourself in this fashion, necessitates almost literally a death of you. The notion, the individuated experience and understanding of yourself as a limited human being on the planet Earth will end. You will never see yourself this way again. Now, this is a lot to swallow for many people because, oh my God, I will die. Yes, in a sense you will die, but you won't die. You're still going to have your memories. You're still going to have your body, your bills, your responsibility, your social security number, your debt, your credit score. All of this will remain. So you have plenty to tie you to this world and remind you of who you are to other people. Just from your perspective, the notion of you will be expanded to such a degree that fear, anxiety, worry, mistrust, alienation, and foreignness will no longer be tenable. Now, none of this is to say, even though you've died and you've been reborn as all things, as all reality in existence, even though you don't go around telling people this, none of this is to say that the Hindus, the Buddhists, whoever, the Jains, whoever, are tapping into some deep and fundamental truth. I'm not saying that in this video. What I am saying is that what they do works, because I'm not doing this professing and pontificating about what it should be or what it is. It doesn't really matter for this video. It doesn't matter what I think, what I say it is, or what I say it isn't, or what it could be, because all we want is the end of nihilism. All we want is the resulting effects of this effort. And that's what we're going to get into. Now, what I'm talking about here is the fulfillment, the sating of a deep-seated, universally held, long-running human need, want, or desire for meaning and significance in life. And just because the desire and the want and the need for meaning and significance isn't logical or rational, and also because the final solution to nihilism and meaning and significance isn't rational either, doesn't mean we should ignore these portions, this area. The irrational areas are a huge portion of human life, and failing to address such a significant portion of human existence means that a significant portion of our experience of life will be unmaintained and likely not correct, not as good as it should be. And we want to be good in every area. We want to be good 360 globally, universally, as a human being. We want to be as good as we possibly can be to achieve a homeostatic existence, a sort of harmony in life, in my opinion. And failing to extend ourselves intellectually to the limits of our cognitive ability and intuitively, as far as we can reach and feel, means that we're left with really one option, and that's to adopt a bunch of tricks and hacks and practices and methodologies and philosophies and mechanisms to deal with the suffering and pain of being a limited and individuated being in a vast and indifferent universe. Now, these tricks and hacks we'll have to cycle through if we don't expand ourselves over and over. After one after another fails, we'll see them over and over, only in retrospect, only in hindsight, as they are, as temporary, as a stopgap, and not the end all be all. You're going to need to use them. They're going to help you deal with life. They're going to help you cope and have the energy and the stamina and the peace of mind and the mental health just to continue searching for better and more. They will help along the way. However, I don't offer them up on this channel, and I could offer up many, because we live such a brief life. We live such a brief existence. We don't know what's going to happen in this world, what's going to happen in our community tomorrow, what's going to happen with us in the next minute. So because life is so brief, because the brevity of our existence is so stark and so intense, I don't want to offer up anything that isn't as efficient and effective as possible. And the most efficient and effective things, in my opinion, address the fundamental and essential core of all of our issues simultaneously at once. And that's what I'm trying to do here. Almost no one that I know is ready to jump and take a leap like that without at least a step in the water, a toe or two. So I have no problem with people using these tricks and hacks, because It's a long road to get there. But over time, as we exhaust one after another, we will eventually see that there may be one out. And that's for us to end and for a new us to begin. A literal death of ourselves must occur, and a new life must begin, as I said earlier, a new life unchained. Now, I will tell you this. I could not do this. I could not do this without a long road myself. I could not just take a leap like this personally. I would never do something like this. And that's not my character. I had to essentially do what everyone else has done, and that's adopt a lot of tricks and hacks and practices and methodologies and philosophies and mechanisms to cope and contend with the pain of being a limited and individuated being in a vast and indifferent universe. And it worked well, but only externally. I adopted a stoic demeanor, and I looked great to everyone. I looked like I had it together. I was solid. There wasn't a problem in the world, but internally I was suffering from many of the same things that everyone else was, maybe in a different way, but much of the same problems and ailments that everyone else was suffering from, the mysteries and the concerns of life as a human being, right? So I had to essentially exhaust all options, all pathways, everything that I tried to find, wrap my head around, invent, create, cobble together, remake, reform, retool, repurpose. It all failed until one night, after a long life of meditation, one night out of desperation, in a sense, literal desperation, I decided to let go and see what these spiritual people were talking about. I had no option, I had no choice, I had nothing to lose. And when I did, I experienced my first and still my most profound, not having tried psychedelics before that or anything like this, still my most profound experience of transcendence, of going beyond. And then I saw, yes, I died. Yes, I was dissolved. Yes, I was obliterated, but I still remain. As you can see, I wouldn't be making videos or loosely maintaining the YouTube channel if I hadn't. So only as someone that leaped over that fence out of desperation, looking back now, can I tell you that nothing works. Nothing will work ultimately and finally unless you destroy the notion of you as a limited being, as an individuated being, as a small person, and expand and adopt as much as you possibly can. I'm telling you that as far as I'm concerned, this is the only thing that works ultimately and fundamentally. Now, there are many stopgaps that can help you along the way that can seem like the answer, but I can poke holes in all of them and I can show you where they will fail. This is one that I cannot see failing in any way, shape, or form, no matter what we come about, what new information, what new knowledge that we come across. The challenge we're faced with here, in my opinion, is the seemingly impossible task of marrying an intellectual understanding of reality, of self and existence, with an intuitive understanding of feeling of something that, if accepted, would give our lives ultimate meaning and significance. Combining the two is very difficult. And we've experienced this difficulty many times in life, I'm sure, when we've known a person or a job that seemed right on paper, that seemed intellectually to be the thing. They are beautiful, they're accomplished, they're successful, and we should be with them. And so everyone else agrees as well that we be a fool to not try to make it work with this person in a relationship. Or we'd be a fool not to take this job because it's prestigious, it pays well, you'd have power. But we can't feel it. We can't feel them and we can't feel the job. So in this sense, our intuition undermines our intellect. So we have an intellectual understanding, but our intuition, our feeling, the internal compass undermines what we know. And then on the other side, we know someone or something that we love to do and someone that we would love to be with. Yet everything about them, everything about what we know about the world and what other people are telling us are saying that it will never work with this person. They're going to embarrass you. They're not right for you. They're not good for you. Yeah, you feel this way, but you're lying to yourself. This isn't right here. Or the job. Yeah, you want to do this, but how are you going to earn money? You're not going to earn money. You're going to be laughed at. You're going to be looked down upon. This is not the right career. So in this situation, our intellect undermines the direct experience of being right and being good. We need to solve this. We need to have the two combine and congrue, and then we will be good, in my opinion. And ultimately, what we will do when we combine the two is destroy the limitations and boundaries and borders of ourself, of who we are. And this shouldn't be a scary thing in the way that it sounds ultimately and initially, because we do this all the time. Just like we have difficulty marrying the intuitive with the intellectual, we also have difficulty seeing the fact that we expand and limit ourselves on a regular basis. Frequently, if not daily, if not hour to hour, we expand and contract all the time. When we go to a sporting event, maybe not during COVID, the COVID pandemic, but before this, when we went to a sporting event, we would expand ourselves to join in with the entire team. We Everyone with a red jersey, everyone with a yellow or blue jersey or gold jersey is now a part of us. We've lost ourselves in a sea of fandom, and everyone on the other side is an other, a them, and we're kind of angry at them, and we don't like them. We can check ourselves, but there's a feeling of rightness over here and wrongness over there. Or when we are in a game and we narrow ourselves to the rules of a game and the role in a game. We're not an attorney, we're not a judge, we're not a physician or mechanic or construction worker, whatever. When we become a Monopoly player, we are whatever piece we picked on the board, and that's all we are within this confine and context. And if we saw ourselves as a judge in this confine with power, with rights, then we wouldn't be able to play the game if we thought that this identity would hold in this limited and narrowed context, parameterized, contextualized reality. So we grow and we expand. We expand and we shrink all the time. And not seeing this means that we may see this act, this endeavor, this action of expanding to all reality and existence as something foreign, something that we're incapable of, something that may not even be possible for a human being, but it is. It's just not easy, because once you go far enough, once you've expanded to your community, fine, maybe you can hold that. Once you've expanded to your family, for sure, to your nation, maybe even to the entire species. But to expand yourself to all reality and existence means that you've essentially blown past the limitations of human existence and human conception to be no thing, in a sense, in a very Buddhistic sense. And that does feel like a death. However, once again, it's not the death of anything desirable and enjoyable. Ultimately, it's the death of everything that you really want to lose. Because this channel is indirectly dedicated to the cognitive side, to the intellectual side of things, and because I'm always trying to expand people's perspective and awareness on themselves, on this world, and on reality and existence, and deepen an understanding of them all as well, because I'm already there, and because these are the things that actually undermine the feeling side of things. I think we need to address the feeling side of things more confidently, more frequently, more likely in this world, in this modern world. I think most people with an internet connection and some education are aware that our experience as human beings is pretty illusory, it's pretty ephemeral. We're reducibly weird. We are reducible. Our bodies, our experience, our life force, in essence, is reducible to cells, which are reducible to molecules, which are reducible to enzymes and proteins, which are reducible to atoms and particles, and then fields of energy, and then loops of quantum gravity and strings that vibrate. And we know that expansively we're almost no thing conceptually, relatively. So we know that this parameter of ourselves, this confine, this context of ourselves, is just one that we hold mentally, because this is our experience contained and confined within this body that is not necessarily a hard limit. So we need to, in my opinion, connect with that feeling of being more. We know that we're more. We know that we're not this. We could potentially allow ourselves to become one with the universe, but we don't feel like that. So because we know fields of energy permeate all of space, we are all connected. Because we know space-time underpins all of reality and existence, as far as we understand. All reality and existence is underpinned by something called space-time, or something more fundamental. We could extend ourselves to all things. We could bleed into all things, because there are no hard boundaries. We just feel strongly like we are John, Tammy, Becky, Beck, Beth, whatever our name is, Jamal, Malcolm, whatever your name is, Rashid, however you want to describe yourself. You know that you're not this if you have an understanding and you're being sensible about things. You know that you're not this, that this is an experience of this. However, you feel like this so strongly that you're not willing to give it up just because you know it here. We don't really know it here that often, that strongly to give it up. So we need to feel it. We need to experience being not this directly. And the first way that most people will go, that I recommend going, obviously, is meditation. And during and in meditation, if you do it correctly, if you do it successfully, you will lose the sense of self, your sense of being you. You will drop the things that make you you, which is the mental happenings and flow and turmoil in your mind that creates an image and an experience of whatever you normally conceive of yourself as. Now, when the conception of you drops, when the identity, the size, shape of you, the wealth, the age of you, when the hurt, the pain, or the greatness, or the deficiency and diminishment of you is eliminate it for a minute, then you are no thing. You are no one. And you feel a sense of spreading and blending and being more expanded than your body. I think we see our bodies, but I know that we feel more than this, as I've experienced since a young man, since I learned how to meditate as a young man. When you are in a state of no selfness, when you are in a clean, unadulterated experience of conscious awareness, then you feel no longer confined cleanly and neatly to a physical form that you inhabit in normal, everyday, conscious and sober thinking life. And because of this, you start to get an experience of being one with everything. If you go far enough, you get an experience of being one with all things. And if you go deep enough, then that experience can be so direct and so profound that it is more true. It is experienced and known personally anyway to be more true and more real than an experience of individuated, personified existence. This seems now more like a phantasm, an illusion, a mist than the experience that you can have during a deep, profound, transcendental insight or experience. This is something that I think we need to work on. We need to work on allowing ourselves to bleed and blend in with more than what we are. We need to allow the boundaries of ourselves to dissolve so that we can feel like what we truly may be, which is all things or no thing. And in this state, you can see this readily without medication, without drugs, without any other activity or happening. You can begin to see that, oh, the boundaries, hard boundaries of me are silly. Actually, the conception and notion of me is silly because I pick this up. I see it reform, just like when I'm waking up from a long, deep sleep. I see the notion of me reform. Oh, who am I? Where am I? What am I doing? What am I like? What do I need to do? Who do I have issues with? Who has issues with me? All of this is carried, and it narrows us. It sharpens us into a limited form. But when it's not carried, we're more nebulous, more ephemeral, and we're more unbounded. And this will help us connect directly, in my opinion, with an expansive feeling of self, one that can start to match and support this intellectual feeling of an expanded being in self. And if that isn't enough, it should be. But I'm aware that meditation is not easy for everyone. I don't know how hard it is because I started meditating at 9. I don't remember. I'm not, you're a child. Things are easier when you're a child. So I'm not sure exactly how difficult meditation is to pick up as an adult, but I've tried to teach it to other people and I've seen them struggle in a number of different ways. But I'm not necessarily the best teacher, so hopefully it is not as hard as I made it. So what I do know is that meditation will work. It's definitely my preferred and number one suggested method for getting beyond the borders and boundaries of you. Just because it's immediate, you can do it right now. As soon as you turn off this video, wait till it's over. But as soon as you turn off this video, you can do it right now. You don't have to wait for anything. You don't have to do anything. You can go sit down and then you can see, oh, I am more than this. And if you stay there long enough, you can get a real and literal sense of being more than anything that you've ever really conceived of, or as much as you can conceive of intellectually if you stay on this channel long enough. Now, if that doesn't work, once again, because meditation may not be easy for everyone, psychedelics, of course, is where I'm going next. You will experience something, and the boundaries and borders of you will dissolve. Now, what you experience, maybe it's being a butterfly, a bird, or what have you, it doesn't matter. What you will start to see if you indulge in these experiences enough, especially if you take a high dose of psilocybin mushrooms, that is one I can recommend for this dissolution experience readily. You will start to see over and over, without having to read a book, without having to think about it, you will see firsthand and know firsthand so much that you are not bound and confined by this, at least as you experience. You can be more, you can be nothing, you can be less, you can be all things. And ultimately, whether it be psychedelics or meditation, what these experiences ultimately culminate in is so much of a direct experience of being more than just the limited self that you're able to drop the notion of being a limited self altogether much more easily because you've experienced it firsthand. It's not something you're trying to believe in. It's not something you feel lightly. It's something that you know deeply and truly. It's just like the person that you want to love and be with, or the job that you want to do for your career, for your life, that you've talked yourself out of. Well, we talk ourselves out of this feeling because we don't know it directly enough. We don't know it strongly enough. But if we were to spend multiple years with this person or spend a few years in this role or whatever, we may not need anyone else to tell us anything. No one may be able to tell us anything to the contrary of this being right or this this person being good for us because we have seen it firsthand. And you can't tell us what we know directly. You can't tell us anything other than what we know directly because we know it so much better than you. No, I understand what you're saying. It doesn't make sense, but I've seen it. I know they're good. Oh, I understand it doesn't make sense, but I'm earning money. I'm supporting myself and I'm having a great life. And that's essentially what we're doing ultimately. We're seeing firsthand about something that we can't know sufficiently to accept until we get deep into it. And then hopefully that thing we've chosen for our career, that person we've chosen to spend our life with is someone that's right for us here as well. Someone or some role that's right for us here as well. And if we go deep enough and expand ourselves far enough, hopefully what we're going to end up with, hopefully where we're going to end up and what we're going to end up with is something that is congruent with what we know. At least it does not contrast too sharply to having a friction to not allow them to gel and mesh. We want just enough of a congruence so that they can sit on top of each other, even if they're not directly congruent like Lego pieces or puzzle pieces or locking block sets. They should at least be able to rest on top of each other because they're roughly congruent in shape and size. That's what we're ultimately trying to achieve. But I'm going to help you do the intellectual side here on this channel. We individually and personally need to work on the direct experience because you cannot trust anyone on that. You have to see for yourself. You have to see firsthand. You have to see directly for yourself. And no one can tell you this. Nothing said, spoken, or written can be convincing enough, in my opinion, to supplant this effort, this need for firsthand experience. Now, I'm not trying to say that I definitively know how you should view yourself fundamentally, because it does seem like we are distinct and separate beings sensorially, but when you invoke non-sensory information into your understanding and conception of you see, especially science and physics, I think you see that that's fantasy, that's silly, that's irrational. We are an experience of individuated, limited existence. We don't know why, we don't know how, but that is what it is, and I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful for the limitation of Benjamin. I'm grateful for the limitation of Lex. I'm grateful for the limitation of being a male, of everything that comes along with it. Because this is what I'm doing now, and I'm appreciative of just being able to do this, whatever the ultimate end-all, end-game, and reason and rationale behind it is. If it's just a confluence of matter and energy, so be it. This is ridiculously favorable for us, I think. But if it's not, then so be it. It's beyond us in an intellectually rational way. So we're not going to go there. We're not going to go there into speculation or anything like that because it's pointless, because every moment is the point. It doesn't matter what the point is. Every moment is the point. We may know, ultimately, we may know at some point, if we go deep enough in the intuitive, sensory, direct felt experience side of it, we may come to some understanding, some feeling of an understanding, but it won't be something that we can rationalize and intellectualize and I think communicate to other people, not without a great deal of effort and a great deal of collaboration and consideration of others' perspectives and opinions. So if you appreciated this, just know that ultimately there will need to be some type of reckoning with these perpetual and endless cycles of hacks, tricks, methodologies, practices, and mechanisms and philosophies, because in this world that we inhabit, in my opinion, we're going to have them all fail. They will not be sufficient to deal with the tumultuous and turbulent world that we're entering into, this phase of human existence and human civilization where change will be so abrupt and so frequent and so intense that no partial or limited conception of self and world can contend. It will need to be an absolute one. That's why I recommend extending yourself to the limits of your ability so that you can contend with anything that comes without stumbling, without a hiccup, without missing a step. This is the end all be all. Try everything. Try your faith, try your religion, try everything if you must. However, before you decide to throw in the towel, before you decide to turn in your hand and say, you know what, I'm done with this game. This is silly. This is stupid. I don't want to play anymore. Before you quit, try this last card. You have one last card to play, a trump card, in my opinion, one that you could play at the beginning that would really win the game from the beginning. However, you're sandbagging it because you're trying to see. Let's get into some speculation and some theory, but I think we sandbag. We know deep down what we could do. We just don't want to do it because we want to see if there's another way, as I did. I wanted to see if there was another way. I played a bunch of different cards. They did not get me the results that I wanted. Was running out of options. Didn't even know I had a trump card. But I played the only card I had left. Didn't know it was a trump card. And then boom, now we see. Now we see a congruence. Now we see an underpinning and a support of the intellectual and the intuitive, the transcendental. Now we see them supporting one another, congruing, and not necessarily being lock and step in a Lego block or locking block fashion, but roughly of the same size, an equivalent size, and equivalent density and surety, so that they don't crush the one below and that they are able to support the one above. We want a congruence. And when we have that, we're good in life. We're good in the world. And if we've gone as far as we can, we're good forever, in my opinion. Nothing will assault our intellect if we've considered all things, and nothing will undermine our intuition and our direct experience because we saw it for ourselves. And trust yourself, ultimately. You have to do that. So this is what I have to say about this. This is the culmination of this 3-part series. I hope it offered some perspective, some insight, hopefully another way of viewing things, and some hope that meaning is possible. Yeah, you want to expand yourself. Yeah, you can be logical about it. But ultimately, I think we're all doomed unless we are willing to take that final leap. We're not going to take that leap until we've exhausted all options. But once we have one more card to play. It will be the trump card. You may not hold it in your hand as that. You may not see it as that. It may be blank to you. But lay that card down. If you have no more options, see what results. And let me know. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed these videos. Let me know in the comment section below if you did, if you didn't. I have another video series coming out about something totally different. So make sure you're subscribed if you want to see that or any of the other videos that I have coming out. And I will see you on the next one. So you have a great day. Take care. Later.